Hi, I am Shelly and this is Layla, and we're going to recap the Detroit Free Press Marathon 2023. So a little background on me and my perspective on this race is I've been running about 27 years. This was my fourth marathon, but I've run about 100 races ranging from 5Ks to marathons to a couple triathlons. So I think I have a pretty good perspective of like pros and cons and differences and similarities in different kinds of races and distances to give, I think, a pretty good perspective on this race. I've run races all over the United States, including Hawaii. Okay, so I do have some notes I'm going to glance at so I don't forget anything. So I was actually not going to make this video because I'm not like a YouTube star, as you can see. But I made a recap about Chicago and I made one about Indianapolis last year, and I didn't think anybody looked at them. And then I started realizing that the Indianapolis one was getting some views, and a comment I noticed like a year later that someone said it was really helpful. So if this helps but one person, then it was totally worth it. Just here to help. I'm not an ambassador for the marathon, not for Detroit. I'm not sponsored by anyone, just trying to put helpful information out there because I know when I sign up for races, I look for these things. Okay, so let's get into it. Starting sort of from the top. Registration for the Detroit, and it's called the Detroit Free Press Marathon. Historically, I believe, opens up January 1st of every year. I know it did this year, and it will 2024. I signed up like January 1st to lock in the lowest price, and I think I paid $100. I don't think it was more than that. It might have even been like $90, which in my opinion is a steal for a marathon these days because they're so expensive. And I felt like this marathon was worth every single penny. It was, I'll talk about it as we go, but it was really, really well run. It was really well supported. It was like top notch. Like, I've run marathon majors, Chicago twice, and I didn't think Detroit skipped a beat. Like, I actually like Detroit better. But yeah, so as far as locking in price, do it sooner rather than later, although I don't think they sell out until really close to race day. So if you're like on the fence or not sure, you don't have to sign up right away like you do in some other races, and you don't have to time qualify. You don't have to deal with a lottery. I'm sure you can fundraise if you want to, but it's, to me, really nice to be able to run races that are just as simple as signing up. And that's partly why I chose Detroit. I had just come off of running Chicago and Indianapolis, and Chicago is my hometown race, and wanted to run it again, and I didn't get in for 2023, and I didn't feel like dealing with the rigmarole of fundraising. So I was looking for a race that wasn't super far away, a relatively flat race, and a fall race, and Detroit seemed to fit all those parameters. And then I looked it up. It looked really cool. So like the big thing about that you'll hear about Detroit Free Press Marathon is that it's an international marathon because you run from Detroit into Windsor, Canada, which is so cool. You run in 2 different countries. So that was very exciting to me. And then we'll go into like how you get into Canada in a little bit. But yeah, so it's an international marathon. They also do international half marathon that day. A regular half marathon that doesn't go into Canada, and then I think they also do a relay, which actually, considering they have so many races being run the same day and how well run it was and not crowded, it was just really impressive. So I signed up. Those are the reasons I signed up. Oh, and then also, I'll talk about this later, but you not just go into Canada and you run over the Ambassador Bridge, but then you come back into the States underwater, which are like the big like things that they advertise all the time for why you should run this race. Well, I'll talk about that a little bit more. Okay, so people always say, do you need a passport? How do you deal with that? I don't think you need a passport per se, but you do need either a passport or I believe an enhanced ID. I have a passport, so I didn't have to look any further than that. And when you register, you'll enter in your passport information, and then at packet pickup, You have to show it to them. They actually do take a look at it. I think you can use an enhanced ID. All that information will be available on the marathon website. However, be aware that Canada has very, 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 very strict laws about who they let enter. And I do know that there are quite a few people that had either like misdemeanors, like DUIs, and felonies in their backgrounds that might not have been able to run. They did get notified weeks in advance from Border Patrol. So that's something that you'll want to look into. Sorry, like I said, I have a bad cough. Look into on the website as you register, so you don't like get any surprises as you get close to race day. But if you don't have any of that in your background, it should be really, really easy. Of course, you want to make sure your passport's not about to expire. But yeah, you don't have to carry, like they say, carry it on you during the race, but I don't think anybody does. The main thing is when you register, you enter it in, your number in, show it to them at Packet Pickup, and then as you cross into Canada, and as you cross back over, you have to have your bib visible, which is not a big deal. I mean, that's pretty standard anyway. You know, and if it's like cold out and you have layers, then you just like make sure it's showing. Otherwise, supposedly they'll take you off the course. Okay, so after I registered, I booked a hotel through the Detroit Free Press Marathon website. Their website's really, really good. That's why I keep referring to it. They do have partnerships with a bunch of hotels to get like discounted rates. And if I recall, I booked a hotel like right away in January. And I had added on a couple extra days at the end thinking we would stay a couple days after, just to like sightsee. But as the date got closer, I realized that wasn't going to work. So I canceled that reservation and rebooked. And I think I just rebooked maybe through like hotels.com and actually got a better rate. But again, like, you know, that stuff changes all the time. And I went with my husband. We stayed at the DoubleTree Fort Shelby, which was really nice and perfect. And I hope we get to stay there again because I plan on running again this year. Cannot recommend it enough. It was nice and clean, and it was definitely like in the marathon, half marathon spirit. Like pretty much everyone there was either running the race or spectating. They gave us a really nice goodie bag. Like I've stayed at other hotels that have races that give you like a Gatorade or something, but like this was like a legit like goodie bag of stuff like personalized to the marathon. And we got like, I think a handwritten note from a manager or someone there, or maybe someone that works or runs a hotel, that he was like, it said like, I'm running to like, have a great stay. It was just like really nice personal touches. It was like a personalized like door hanger, some snacks, some drinks. I think they gave us like a rain poncho because it was in case it rained. Like just pulled out all the stops, and it was super duper close to the start and the finish. The start and the finish are very close to one another, and I think it was like a 1 minute walk from the hotel to the start line. So to me, when I travel for races, that's a big thing. I want to stay very close to the start and finish. There were, like I said, other partner hotels, probably within walking distance. I don't know if the others were as close, but definitely 2 thumbs up for DoubleTree Fort Shelby. And our room was awesome. It was like a big bedroom and then a big like living room area. So of course the night before the race you want to get a good night's sleep, and if you're traveling with other people, they could hang out in like the living room area while you go to bed and not bother you. It was a very good experience. And as far as parking went, there was a parking lot across the street. I think we had to pay extra for it, but it wasn't exorbitant like parking is in like Chicago and New York. So, okay. Other things, I think the race had like a pasta dinner the night before. I didn't go to that, but that looked kind of cute. I had brought my own food like I always do when I travel for races. But yeah, the city is definitely into it and like excited to have you. The Detroit Free Press Marathon Facebook group is awesome. So if you sign up for the race, join it. Again, I'm not an ambassador or anything, but the people in there are so friendly and like so excited to have other people coming to run in Detroit. And I thought it was just like full of really helpful tips and like kind of allayed some of those, fears and stuff about an unknown course. And I didn't feel like I'm still in the group, and people aren't like snobby or judgy. They're just really helpful. So that's a side note. The expo, really close walking distance to the start finish and to my hotel. And I thought the expo was great. It was definitely like middle size. So like compared to, I've been to the Chicago Expo, I've been to New York City Marathon Expo, and those are obviously really, really big. I've been to some really big, actually, half marathon expos. I've been to some tiny ones. And I felt like Detroit was like right in the middle, and I thought it was great. It had anything that you could be looking for, but not overwhelming, and like I wasn't tempted to spend like 2 hours walking around tiring out my legs the day before the race. You do have to go to the expo to pick up your packet, so know that. And at the expo we got our race shirts, which were long sleeve shirts with the Spirit of Detroit logo. They were nice. And then a buff, and I don't know, all of it's probably like in the laundry somewhere, so I don't have it to show you, but they were nice giveaways. And then their local running store, the Running Lab, had awesome merch that was like the official race merch that you could buy, and I had pre-purchased mine so that I could just like go pick it up at the expo. And I got like a ski hat and a hoodie. Okay. So you probably want me to get to the race stuff, but I know this stuff is all important to runners as well. So race day, oh yeah, the race was October 15th. I think it's always the third Sunday in October. So it was October 15th, which was a Sunday, and the race started at 7, and you're in Eastern time. And the clock said, the clocks hadn't just changed. Yeah, we were on Eastern time. And I'm used to a lot of really big races because most of the races in Chicago are so big. So I thought I had to get there pretty early. I got there at like 6:30, and it was like a ghost town. Like nobody was in the corrals yet. So I went back into my hotel room just for a few minutes. And came back out like 15 minutes later, and that was like a world of a difference. Everyone was corralling up at that point. I think we got to pick what corral we wanted to be in ahead of time. I actually moved back because I decided to run with a pacer. I didn't want to have to worry about looking at my watch. So I hopped in where the 10:18 pace group was. So like I'm a middle of the pack runner. And there weren't a ton of options, I felt, for sort of middle of the pack pace groups. There were a lot for like the 6, 7, 8 minute milers, but I know they're all volunteers, so it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers. So I was like, okay, 10:18 group, that sounds fine. That brings you in like right at 4:30. And the pacer was easy to find, which in some bigger races I've had a problem of not being able to find the pacer. So that was nice. She was really nice. Unfortunately, she left the group a few times. I have a feeling she was having like a bad GI day, which happens, we're all human. So I didn't end up running with her for the majority of the race, but was easy to find at the beginning, and she at least got me through the first handful of miles. So yeah, the first few miles are in like Detroit, and you're heading towards Canada for the first couple miles towards the Ambassador Bridge, which everybody said is so cool. You're gonna love it. You're gonna watch the sunrise. And I thought maybe this is gonna be like overrated because everyone talks about it, but I have to say it was really, really cool. You run as the sun is rising, which I believe they do purposefully, like why they have it start at whatever time they have it start. And we had a like kind of a partly cloudy day, but still had a really beautiful sunrise. And the Ambassador Bridge is like one of the 2 elevations of the whole race. The rest is really flat. It's like about a mile climb, but it's not horrible by any means. And I run on flat ground 99% of the time because I'm in Chicago, and I didn't find it terrible or anything. And then you get like a mile downhill, so it kind of pays off. And that was really, really neat. And like I said, just, have your bib showing because you're going to pass Border Patrol going in and out of Canada. And then as you run down the bridge, you run like through their Border Patrol entry, and there's fans welcome you into Canada with, you know, big maple leaf signs, and it's really fun. It's really cool. It's exciting. It's different. So yeah, so then you're in Canada for a couple miles. You run along the Detroit River. You run into some of the neighborhoods in Marathon Brain. I'm not going to remember like mile by mile, but it was really pleasant and well supported. And there's, you know, water and Gatorade. I think it was Gatorade, like every mile. Porta potties plenty. It was great, and that part was flat and fast, and that's where I lost my pacer. Probably bit me in the butt a little bit down the road, because once we lost her, I think our pace was probably 20 seconds too fast, which adds up, you know, over the course of a while. But that's okay. And then to leave Canada, this is like the other big thing that everyone talks about with this race. If you hear a loud noise in the background, that's my dog snoring, is you run back into the US underwater. It's called like the underwater mile. So it's a tunnel. And as you run under it, it's a decline, if I recall. And then as you run out, it's a mile. As you run out, it's an incline. And people say like the tunnel can get really hot and stuffy and gross, especially on a warm day. We had really good running weather, 45, 50 degrees-ish. And it didn't get kind of like hot and stuffy to the last, I don't know, 400 meters or so. And the tunnel's really fun, you know, like people are yelling and screaming, but like not in an annoying way. And like, this is fun, this is cool. And there's a point where there's like the two flags in the tunnel, Canada here, America here, and people like stop and take selfies. I didn't, because I just want to keep running, but that was fun. It was just different. It was just different and fun. And then as you leave the tunnel, you come back into America, and everyone, you know, lots of crowd support there welcoming you back. So that's really fun. You kind of feel like you're important because there's all these people greeting you as you leave the tunnel. Okay, let's see. I think that's around mile 8. And from like 8 to 13, I don't remember a whole lot. And I think that's good. I think it was just like nothing good, nothing bad. But again, well supported. I stopped for water every couple miles. Was never in need of anything that wasn't available. I had to actually stop at a porta potty. It happens at mile 13, and there was no line. Like I was in and out, which was really, really nice. And the porta potty wasn't disgusting. Like I think the whole thing was like 50 seconds. And to me, that was a big relief, because obviously having to stop for porta potty is kind of a bummer. But being able to get in and out real quick was nice. Yeah, so from 13 to like 16, 17, I think we ran through like, and don't quote me on this, but like some of like the old theaters, and I feel like we're sort of like above, I don't know, maybe above like an expressway, I don't know. But again, I think that just means it wasn't bad. I just don't remember exactly what. I think we ran past a bunch of the stadiums, because like the Lions, the Red Wings, the Pistons, they all play in downtown. So I think we ran past that. You run by some just like older, like abandoned kind of buildings that have like cool, you know, street art, things like that. Like you see a lot of different areas of the city, which I love. Like it wasn't repetitive. It was lots, like you really see a lot of Detroit. And then around mile 17, I think I actually found my pacer again. And at that point realized that I had been running too fast and knew that it was gonna bite me in the butt at some point. But for a couple miles I was with her, and she was really, really nice. She was like talkative to anyone that wanted to talk, you know, just like trying to keep our minds off of sort of the pain we were all about to endure when we got to like mile 20. But yeah, she was great when she was there, so thank you to her. But then around mile 18, 19 is where I think I lost the group. And this is where we ran on, and don't yell at me if I say it wrong, the Dequindre Cut. I hope I say that right. But this was a really cool stretch. It was flat, it was straight, couple miles, I think, of just like paved running path. And there's a lot of fans there. There was like people playing music. local running groups, and that was really fun. And it was like street level was here and the cut was down here, and I just remember it being like a nice long stretch without any turns or curves or anything. So that was fun and felt like, you know, very Detroit, like, you know, a taste of their, you know, local running path. And then we had to get back to street level, and this was where there was like, I felt like it was like a perpendicular road. Everything starts to feel difficult around this time, but to get from the cut back up to street level, and that, I think I just walked. It was like a minute of like straight incline. And then, yeah. So then like mile 20 to 23, I believe, again, was more neighborhoods. I do remember passing by some like schools, maybe some city colleges, community colleges, could have been other colleges, I don't know, again, like marathon brain. But I do remember like students being out there and just being really helpful and friendly and like cheering you on and making you believe in yourself. I remember like this man at one of the aid stations who saw that I like was sort of delaying after I took my Gatorade, and it was kind of like shuffling my feet. He's like, you know, we'll have another Gatorade station at the next, you know, mile marker, you know, like kind of telling me like, come on, let's go, without making me feel bad. And that was kind of funny. So yeah, so 20 to 23 was just kind of painful for me. Just, I had a really hard time. Wasn't the day I wanted out there. And at that point also, there was like a little bit of an out and back where you saw people coming one way and you were going the other way. I did see someone that I knew running, so that was kind of fun. And that was just sort of like a long stretch of roadway. But again, well supported. At some point there was like, I think people in kilts handing out beer. There were people barbecuing. You know, the city just like came out and supported the race. It was really, really cool. And then from like 24 to 26.2, I sort of got like my second wind, knew that I was coming into the finish pretty soon. And this is when you like enter back into downtown. You can kind of see the finisher chutes out in the distance. So that gave me sort of the lift that I needed to finish it off. Great cheering sections near the end. That was really fun. Again, made you feel like you were like some big runner person, even though I'm just, you know, a regular old middle of the pack runner. My husband and I had never been to Detroit. He had never been to the marathon course, and he was able to map out a couple places to like for me to look for him. And I found him, I think, at 3 or 4 of the places. The first one I missed him, and that might have just been like a timing thing, but that was nice too. Again, you know, some of these bigger races, it's really hard to find the people that are cheering you on. And since this was more of a middle-sized race, it was easy to find each other, even though neither of us had been on this course before. And because it's not like a circle loop, but all, you know, in general, it's a loop course, which makes it easy for spectators to get to a handful of different miles. I think he might have rented a bike or a scooter as well that day. And then, yeah, so then I crossed the finish line. And I always think this is a really nice touch when the finish line volunteers actually put your medal over your neck instead of just like handing them to you, because I know we're all gross and sweaty. So I just think that's really sweet when they do that. And said congratulations, and this is the medal, which I think is a super cool medal. This is the Spirit of Detroit. That's what was on our shirts. And then how cool is this? American flag and Canadian flag. So, and this is a great medal. And and you know, then they give you food and refreshments and all that, and there's, you know, stuff going on. But I'm always someone at the end of the races that's like, I just want to go back to the hotel and like take a shower. So, and I think we got those like tinfoil things too. So that's it. I would 100% recommend this race. Like, I can't even find a criticism of it at all. Truly, 10 out of 10. Sorry if this was a little disjointed. Like I said, I'm not a professional YouTuber or anything, but hopefully it was helpful. If it is and you want to let me know, you can comment, maybe I'll see it. Or follow me on Instagram. I'm Shelley, SHELLEY _ANICIETE_running. I post pretty much only about running on there, and then in my stories about like life and my dog and stuff like that. And then as far as like kind of nerdy running stuff, I ran in Brooks Ghost 15, which is just what I run in. I fueled with GU because that's what works best for me. I was well fueled, I was well hydrated. I just didn't have the race day that I wanted. It happens. I think that's it.